One moment, please. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Michelle's Formentor plug-in hybrid. We'll do a very quick video just to go through my thoughts and feelings on hybrids, seeing how we've lived with it now for, let's see, driver data, 2,389 miles, probably more than that by the end of this video. Yeah, we've had it for 4 or 5 months now, and Michelle's been driving it daily to and from work. I've driven it to my work a couple of times, and I want to sort of put into words my feelings, but the thing is, I'm confused. I'm confused and a tiny bit conflicted on this car, and I want to tell you why. Now, I have a number of points of reference. So for Michelle going to and from work, I'm going to reference Michelle's last car, which was the VW Golf R-Line. Not an R-Line, which had the 1.5 130 brake horsepower 4-cylinder engine, which this car also has. This car just happens to have a 100 odd brake horsepower electric motor as well. Now, it also has a 22 kilowatt hour battery sat in the boot. And whereas Michelle going in start and stop traffic to and from work would get around 35-ish miles to the gallon in the Golf, this in start and stop traffic in what I call Prius mode, which is basically where the main battery is depleted and you only use the charge you've stored up from braking to pull away from lights, so barely using the battery, but obviously still living with the consequences of having a 22 kilowatt hour battery sat over the back wheels. In that circumstance, this car does better than the Golf, but we've only managed to get 40 miles to the gallon out of it, which isn't a huge leap. Not as big a leap as I was expecting anyway. Now, in full plug-in hybrid mode with a battery charge and all the rest of it, it runs primarily on battery, and it will run for her. She can get 4 days of running out of the car. It started off with 3, maybe 4, but now she's comfortably getting 4 days out of a full battery. So, yes, it is better. I can't deny it is better. The next test we did with this car was me using it. Now, on a very similar route to my commute, the best I could get out of it in Prius mode, again, battery depleted, but using the brakes to charge the battery a little and then using that power to set off from lights. On my commute, which is mainly motorways, you might be able to take the hint that yeah, it didn't do so well. Whereas the Golf, I could stick it in 6 gears cruising down the motorway, and then on the back roads I don't drive very, very quickly. I got a grand total of 44 miles to a gallon out of this. The Golf, awkwardly, got 48. It used to get 48 miles to a gallon. And that was in cooler weather as well. So that, again, if you're driving this car as a Prius and not really using it to its full extent by not charging its battery, it's non bueno. So, the elephant in the room. What happens if you drive this to and from on a long commute of roughly 68 miles round trip to my work, which is down in Crewe from Warrington, mainly motorway, and then a bit of back roads towards the end of the downward leg, and then a bit more back roads till you get to motorway on the return leg. Well, on the way down, Obviously, with a full charge battery, it says 64 miles, which, as the mathematicians amongst you may be able to figure out, is less than 68. This car, according to its WLTP figures, should have a fully electric range of whatever I put on the screen. So 64 miles was a guideline of what the car thought it would be able to do with a battery pack. Yeah, so this is where it gets awkward. On the way down, the car managed 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour, which is not great in terms of electric cars. Similar morning with Tavascan, which is also a crossover SUV with 5 seats and a reasonable sized boot. I was well over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. On the way back, I was constantly waiting for this to jump out of electric only mode and go back into hybrid, start up the motor and start using petrol. I thought, you know what, after the 10 miles back roads, as soon as I get on the motorway, consumption is going to go up, and then boom, motor's kicking in, and I'm going to have to drive home on petrol. It took until 5 miles from home. So the car did 61 miles. 61 miles on battery only. Now granted, there was a lot of traffic, which makes it a little bit of an anomaly, but still 61 miles on this battery, including doing a lot of motorway out to 70 officer. I'm massively impressed by that. But this is where the confusion and the conflict lies. If I was going to have one of these and do that every single day that I commuted, I'd have to charge every single night, which is a bit of a faff. But one tank of petrol would last me 80 days. More than 2 months just on one tank of petrol. That's insane. That's insanely impressive. Now granted, yes, every single day I'd have to go for around £5 of electricity. So yes, the pence per mile isn't that much better than the Golf. In fact, well, okay, it is better than the Golf pence per mile wise by a reasonable amount, but it's not quite as good as a full EV. And if you're driving this, trying to get it to be an EV and using the electricity every single day and charging every single day, then that brings up 2 key points. If you're trying to drive as an EV and having to rely on that last 5 miles of petrol use, then surely you'd be better off getting an EV with a bigger battery. A full EV with, let's say, a battery twice the size of this, and being easily able to do 1, maybe even on a really good day, 2 days worth of commuting. And then you have to charge once every 2 days, not once every 1 day like this. The other point, and this brings in one of the biggest things I get, is I can't have an EV because I don't have a charger at home. And that's where this would fall down as well, because you'd have to charge this to make this run as cheaply as possible and to get the astronomical fuel economy and using only 1 tank per 80 days for me. I would need to have a house with a wall charger. And luckily enough I do. But there's people out there who don't. So they would have to use something like an InstaVolt or because this car luckily can DC charge. Quite a lot of plug-in hybrids can't rapid charge. So plugging up, let's say you had this 22 kilowatt hour battery and you plugged it into an 11 kilowatt hour AC charger, you are looking into roughly 2 hours worth of charging it would take to get that battery up to full. If you plug it into a 7 kilowatt hour charger, that's 3 hours. 3 hours, but this has to be on a public charger somewhere if it's on AC. Now this, because it's DC and can accept up to 50 kilowatt hours, but it's half an hour. So if you went to, I don't know, Mackey's and plugged it into an InstaVolt on their off-peak rate, sat down, had a coffee and a burger, half an hour later you got a full charge. But then again, that's at 50 pence per kilowatt hour or 55 pence per kilowatt hour, and it's not as cheap. And then the price isn't as cheap for your commute, and you're heading back towards being just as expensive or as cheap to run as the Golf without the battery. It's a gateway drug, this car. It's partly going, right, this shows you that you can drive your life and live your life on EV only. This whole journey I've done while filming this has been on EV only. And it just does the job. And it's infuriating in some ways. It's like, this is how easy it should be. And it's a great gateway drug for everybody who gets in it, tries to drive it, using it in electric only. And it's all my friends who have got hybrids do exactly the same. It's like, right, I'm going to see how far I can get, how many days I can get, how far I can go on EV only before the petrol motor kicks in, and it becomes a game. But then you realise, well, yeah, you got the safety net of a motor kicking in, and it's a question of, well, at what point do you not need that safety net? This, as I said, it's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug. It's stabilizers on a bicycle. It's to get you hooked in, and I love it for that, because it has a safety net, and people who are interested in going EV but can't because they don't have X or Y, or they don't trust the infrastructure yet, or they haven't got a charger at home, or for whatever reasons, a plug-in hybrid would be a perfect gateway drug, and it would probably let them see the EV world so much quicker. I'm sorry, that isn't actually much of a conclusion, is it? But I hope you enjoyed this small little rant, and I will speak to you shortly. If you have any feelings, positive or negative, about this video, feel free to throw in the comments. Lord knows I do love comments, and as you may have seen on the channel, I do occasionally do your comments answered. So I will be picking the best comments from there and then feeding back in the your comments answered videos later on in the month, and somebody will win comment of the month. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, comment, subscribe, comment. See you soon. Bye.